All right, welcome to a post-Easter spring break edition of the Pro Football Doc Sports Injury Central podcast. Happy to have a special guest here today since I'm actually on vacation with the kids right now. It's their late spring break. I'm going to bring in a fun guest, someone who I've enjoyed getting to know somewhat over the years and always enjoyed watching and following for all his creative content. And hopefully he'll spice up this podcast from that of a boring doctor. So welcome to the show, Cousin Sal.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to learn what goes on in your spring break. Like, how do you let loose with the kids? I mean, you don't have to tell me exactly your room number or where you're staying, but what happens?
It's wild and crazy. There's kid slides and big kid water slides, and I have 10, 10, and now 6, and it's about playing waiter to get drinks for them and pizzas and chicken tenders and But Cousin Sal, I didn't realize this. Okay, I got up at 6. I was down to the pool at 6:45 in the morning to try.
I didn't realize that. I don't know how I would
seats.
be. Yeah,
the pool
to
was
save
at
the
7.
time. Oh yeah. And
there was a line.
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst. Yeah, that's not good. You're saving beach chairs or what, pool chairs. You're ordering chicken fingers and just praying to God that nobody gets injured because you're going to be the first one to be called. Not even just your family, anybody around the pool, right?
Yeah, I try and go incognito. But I did run into a couple players yesterday here at the pool. Hall of Fame players, and we chat. But this is how. Okay, I guess I can tell the story.
Go ahead, tell it. Let's hear it.
So
Lamar Jackson, and he's retiring. So that's it. Just let it out.
No, that's your style big news. This was Antonio Gates with his family, and I didn't recognize he had shades on. Whatever, he said hello. We chatted, and then my son, of course, who's 10, he just shrugged. Okay, that's Gates. Whatever. And he had a little 10-year-old with him, another friend. And I said, this kid's a big football fan. So I said, name a really good tight end who played in the NFL. If he could, Gates, I'll introduce him. He'll have fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, and then my son spills the beans. He goes, Antonio Gates. And his friend goes, who?
Oh, no. Yeah, it's rough. It's so rough.
Just age.
Yeah,
age.
We're all just a piece of meat, right? In the end, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. I was just trying to let him have some fun.
No, that was nice of you. That's what you tried.
But no, the wife's down at the pool, and I'm actually my wife doesn't really watch the podcast, so hopefully she won't watch this one.
Yeah.
She was like, "Why are you doing this at noon? We'll be at the pool and the kids and whatever." And I'm like, well, Cousin Sal's a busy guy. He's got about 17 podcasts to do. This is when he could fit us in. But part B was like, I don't know. The sun's pretty hot at noon. I could, have a, little iced drink here and sit in an air-conditioned room for an hour. We won't keep you an hour. And it's not the worst thing in the world in the middle of the day, especially since I was down to the pool since 6:45 in the morning. So
you know what? If you need me as an alibi, and you want to stay in the room for 3 hours, just say this Cousin Sal. He's busy, but he's long-winded too. Boy, I couldn't get off, and just take a nap in the room. Okay, you'll be there for the.
Well, what I might say is you're so busy, you put us out for. It was like a delayed flight. I mean, it was 20 minutes, and there was another 40 minutes, and finally you came on an hour and a half late, and I just had to wait for you. So if you don't mind being thrown under the bus that way, I might try that.
That's whatever you want to do, Doc. And the fact that she doesn't listen makes it all better. So you're good.
Well, she doesn't listen in general, but the podcast every now and again. No, just joking. Just joking. I'll hear about that one if she listens. Kind of thing. So lots to talk about here. You're the professional here. I can let you lead the way, but it seems like every time I run about you, one of the reasons I'm excited to have you on is every time I run into you and tell me you and Bill Simmons are jabbing about me. So let's start off by talking about Bill Simmons and turn the tables.
Okay.
No, I mean,
what do you want to know? You want to?
I don't know. Whatever stories. I mean, this is another one. The Sports Injury Central crew that we have, they're all younger guys, right?
Right.
when I show him the Bill Simmons original mention, and I've never met Bill. I've never even spoken to him. But years ago, he was talking about, and you were talking about him. He goes, "Oh, this guy, he's kind of interesting. He, does all this stuff, and you can say it better than I do, and it's kind of interesting." He said he started following, and that it's amazing. He kind of gets the stuff right. I mean, he's kind of like, he used the word Quincy, if you remember.
Right. He called you Quincy, yeah.
And he kind of, you don't know how, but at the end, Jack Klugman knows who killed who or what happened. And I said that to my crew, and they're like,
"You said that to your 10-year-old," and he's like, "Who's Quincy?" Right?
Yeah, who's Quincy? No clue. I'm a lot closer to a sidekick, Quincy sidekick Sam, than to looking like Jack Klugman or Quincy. But,
right.
But that dates myself as well.
Let me just say this, and here's why you're so valuable beyond saving lives and stuff like that, which I don't really care about. But we try to get an edge because we're betting on all this stuff, right? And so we've had, I don't want to name names, but we've had general managers in years past say, our team's not showing up for game 82 in the NBA. And we're almost always on the wrong end of it. They're not showing up, and then either the backups are way better than who was supposed to be in there, or they actually do show up. And so if we can get an edge through a GM, hasn't happened yet, or a doctor or something else, we're going to put it out there. And that's how Simmons built his $300 million fortune. No, that's not how he did it. But it certainly helps from week to week when these lines are so tight and you just want even a half a point or a quarter point. And I know you realize the value in that, right, coming up. And who's going to play? How long does this, I think long term, what you provide is maybe even more important than short term, because as soon as you can diagnose a player after seeing a replay or whatever, shortly thereafter, we'll learn if he's going to stay in the game or she's going to stay in the game. But the long term, if you could say, hey, looks like Josh Allen's, they say it's a 3-week injury, but this is really a 9-week injury or something like that, then you could start screwing with the over-unders. Then you could start screwing with to win a division. Like if a guy, an important cog, is going to be out half a year versus what they say, 2 or 3 weeks, or the other way around, that's where your value is, in case you didn't know where your value was.
Well, that's good to know. We stumbled onto something this year. Like, I always knew that, look, when I started doing this randomly, and Schefter and Rappaport, they've been very kind to me, both of them, nothing negative. But back when I started doing this on Twitter and randomly just sort of fell into this, they didn't get into in-game injury information. Now you'll see them on occasion in-game getting information and tweeting it. Now we get it first because we get it by video, and they have to get it through agents and other sources, et cetera. And obviously they're reporting, and never doubt they're reporting. They're great reporters. We're just analyzing from afar. So a team, for example, this week, Oneil Cruz yesterday, fracture, dislocation, ankle. We said season is more likely the thing. The Pirates have now admitted ankle fracture and said surgery. A reporter said, it looks like 60 days and maybe more. Sure, he's going to hit the 60-day or 2 months. He's going to hit the 60-day IL. But we think it's really closer to season. And the Pirates have said expecting, to return in 4 months, maybe as a limited pinch hitter or a DH, not at shortstop. And so we just do analysis from what we see, and in game potentially is the hugest advantage. But the other thing that we saw this last season is, I don't remember the record, and the producer and editor Jacob can chime in, but our futures picks for football were really pretty good. Like going into last year, we were fading the Packers win total because we didn't believe Bakhtiari was ready, nor their right tackle. When your bookend tackles are out, that's a problem in the NFL. So we said take Vikings plus 240 to win the division, over on Vikings, under on Packers. At the beginning of last season, we said Michael Thomas is more, when he first got injured, Michael Thomas was a top 3 receiver in the league. We said he's more likely to be the 3rd best receiver on his team than a top 3 in the league. And obviously he got another injury, and hopefully he can come back. So, another easy one was the Ravens running back. We're like, there's no way. Now he made a nice late season comeback, but that was an under easily. So some of those futures props when they're based on injuries. But look, I'm not a gambling guy. You are. I just try and get information, injury information.
But here's the things. But you're good. You're good with math, right? And you're good with analyzing injuries. And so, I don't pretend to be a boy wonder when it comes to gambling. But I see the season projections for players, and it is almost always based on their average. Like, let's take running backs. It's almost always based on their average yards per game times 17. They are not taking into account injury factors at all. And I think a lot of it is because people just by human nature want to bet over. They see Derrick Henry over 1,650 and a half yards. They do the math like, okay, I'm going to go over on that. But I'm telling you, I've had a world of success betting the unders. And I know it sucks. It's like betting no pass line on craps and things like that. But this year they didn't have all 32 starting running backs available. I think there were 28. And I went 19-9 with the unders. And by week 10, I had half of them in already because you got guys missing 2 or 3 games. Like, you could just pencil it, check them off. This one's missing. This one's not going to get the over. And then all I have to do is go 500 for the rest of them, 50-50. And I'm a winner. And I know it. It's not fun rooting for injuries, but what is like, you could bet over or you could bet under. And it seems good. Have you looked into this at all? And this is any sport.
Our staff has looked into some of that, and you're right about that. There's no question that the overs are the more fun routes, right? The unders are not fun. But yeah, injuries are a reality, and platooning running backs are a reality. But here it's not. We look at it. What we do at our site is completely qualitative, not quantitative. For you, quantitatively, if you took all the unders statistically, you could probably be ahead. I agree with that. But we were very strong on taking Saquon Barkley over this year coming into the year because everyone was so down on him last year. We were on the unders last year, but now this is his second year back from the ACL week, and he hit that very early in the year over. So I like your approach when there's no information, right? Why not? But when there is information, go and take that, and your numbers will be probably even better. And since you're being very complimentary, I got a question for you. How do you know I'm good at math? What makes you say that I'm good at math?
Your wife told me at the pool. No, I don't know. No, I've heard you look at it.
Because I'll answer it for you, cousin Sal, because I'm pretty good with an abacus. No, just kidding.
Is that what it is? Okay, yes. I know. No, you're analytic in your thinking. I've heard you before, and we've talked about stuff like this, and that's how I know. But let me ask you this, as far as math goes. So if an Oneil Cruz is said to be out 4 months, and you predict it's going to be closer to 7 or 8, are you upset when he comes back in 4 months? Does that piss you off? You can be honest.
Piss me off? No. Look, first of all, it's okay. I like talking. People think you like talking about when you're right. I think it's very educational for me to hear when you're wrong. Okay. And to admit when you're wrong. Look, you can't be 100%. This is just video, right? And we've been 95% accurate when there's clear video. I'll give you an example where I was clearly wrong, but we stick to our guns. Last year, at the start of this year for baseball, we were high on Ronald Acuna Jr., second year back after his ACL. Last year, we said he's very iffy, and he's not going to be in the field. I mean, he's just going to DH. Well, the first game of the year, he played in the field. And and my staff is looking at me like, oh, you're wrong here. I go, okay, let's admit that we're wrong here. And then it comes out it was because of injuries on the Braves, a midnight phone call. Can you make it in the field? Okay, we'll try it. He played 1 or 2 games in the field and DH basically the rest of the season because his knee wasn't really ready. So there are times that even when we're wrong, we're potentially on it because there's a lot of different factors that come into play. I'll give you another example that I got a lot of crap for. A couple years ago, when the Rams were playing the Seahawks in the playoffs and Jared Goff had his thumb issue, I said, book it. Jared Goff is the starter. Very affirmative, book it. And about 90 minutes before the game, Jay Glazer goes, it's John Wolford. Goff's not starting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And everyone's, you're wrong. And I talked about it on the podcast. Look, sometimes we're wrong. But then on the podcast on Monday, we actually doubled down, and here's why. No NFL team goes into any game, much less the playoffs, with 1.5 quarterbacks. They did not activate Blake Bortles for that game, the Rams, which told me Jared Goff was 100%. Because if he wasn't 100%, and that's why Wolford was starting, you would have had to find a way to activate Blake Bortles in case, because you can't have a 49er situation against the Eagles with no quarterbacks. You just can't do that.
Didn't they?
And so when he wasn't activated, that told me Goff was healthy. And that offseason, I did a podcast with Lonnie Paxton, who's an investor with Sports Injury Central, and he knows Jimmy G. And Jimmy G, of course, with the Trey Lance, hiding behind health in the trade. I said, I think it's happened with Jared Goff too. Like, he's obviously, to me, either Jared Goff is here and John Wolford is thought of as here, close to him, or John Wolford is here and they think of Jared Goff as this. The difference wasn't that much where, because he didn't get practice, they played the other guy. And sure enough, he got traded that offseason. So to me, it's fun to play Quincy and detective on this stuff. And you can't be always right.
Do you think it'll ever get to a point with the billions of dollars that sunk into gambling and fantasy and everything? You think, and there's still some guys who are game time decisions, right? And now I think in the last couple of years they've done a better job of releasing the interview well in advance of kickoff. But should the league have the responsibility? Should the individual teams have the responsibility of getting that information to us even before 10? I mean, how close to the wire, down to the wire, can they make it, really?
Well, it's interesting. The NFL tries, right? And we'll probably get to the NBA with load management and sudden people that are out and what drives people crazy. But one of the things isn't as simple as in or out. It's, okay, they're playing, but how many touches and what's their role and how effective? More decoy or more 100%, what's going on. During the NFL season this year, we loved it when a player played, we knew they were injured, because usually the underprops hit pretty darn well, throughout the season doing that, because just because a guy is playing doesn't mean he's getting the targets or touches.
That's true. That we'll never know. So, we'll never know the plan.
So, so I think there's still a lot of gray area here. And look, all we do is injury analysis. The other area that I think we will still own is, as in-game wagering gets more and more popular, we're probably the first source. I mean, look, this year, Patrick Mahomes with his high ankle when he first went out, we're like, don't worry, he's coming back into the game, right? I mean, it was quite a sweet. Well, he stayed in the game, then left, and then didn't come back, and then did come back. And you and I talked at the Super Bowl how we thought that Patrick Mahomes' ankle was going to be fine, and obviously Jalen Hurts' shoulder was fine, right? Jalen Hurts, absent one fumble in the final score, he's the MVP. Jalen Hurts had a
crazy MVP numbers, for sure.
Yeah, crazy numbers. And obviously Patrick Mahomes was effective throughout the playoffs, because we talked about it, because of his off-platform throws. And once again, I get it. High ankles, that's usually 4 weeks, 6 weeks. But you got to look at the type of player that they are in terms of the off-axis throws that he makes. He's not a plant the back foot and drive the ball guy. Now, even with that, we did also play some games of under longest completion, like in the AFC Championship game against Joe Burrow, because that was his first week back after the high ankle. We said he's not going to be able to plant and drive the ball down the field, and he doesn't have Tyreek Hill with all the yak anymore. It's going to be, and I think the longest completion was, 37, 38 yards or something. I don't think his longest completion was longer than 20 in that AFC Championship game, because we knew he couldn't drive the ball down the field, et cetera. So, there's sometimes hidden advantages to be found.
For sure. All right, now let's get to these NBA players, because it drives me nuts.
Well, before you get to NBA players, yesterday was Easter. What was the deal with teammates fighting teamates and punching walls and all this anger, man? What was going on there? That was
the Oneil Cruz thing got that ugly. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I guess Catholicism, I'm not sure. I thought it was thriving, but not in the NBA. Yeah, that was interesting with Gobert, because was it Tishan Prince, who was it that shoved him back? Like that was a shove that made you think, like, yeah, this guy's looking to fight Rudy Gobert, and it's just really dumb timing because now I don't know if you saw, he's suspended for the Lakers game in the 7-8 game. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, he might be the worst teammate out of anybody. You could say the Draymond Greens or anybody else, but I think Gobert, between spreading the COVID on the microphones and throwing half-ass jabs, might be right there at the top of the list.
Yeah, but I also see how, I think it was Woj tweeted out that the other confirming a report that the other player called him the bitch a couple times,
right?
It got him mad, and he was only punched in the chest, not in the face, so they had to suspend him, but it wasn't that bad. It's interesting the spin that comes out, but that's a team that had two of their major players injured, just coming back early, and now they're hamstrung again with this. With his injuries. So what are your thoughts on the NBA playoffs going into the playoffs? What are your headlines or thoughts?
Well, the West is tough. And, I do think maybe the Warriors played this load management perfectly. They got their guys back and, they're a minus 260 favorite over the Kings. That's my big bet. And I'm going to take it game by game. So they're going to Sacramento. Sacramento's home for that series, and it's like a toss-up. It's like I think Sacramento's a 1-point favorite in game 1 and will be about the same in game 2 until they shift over to Oakland. But I do think with Poole and the injuries, and they just played it right, and that team terrifies me going in. So that's who I would go. I like Golden State in that first round as far as matchups go. And I don't know. This play-in, it's good, it's bad. I don't know what the proper punishment is for Mark Cuban, but the fact that he sits his guys, but then Luka decides to play one quarter anyway and goes over his projected total of 11.5 points. There's so much to be said about this Dallas thing, but there's so much tanking. So I don't know if it begins and ends with Mark Cuban. I'm not sure what the answer is.
Well, at least in theory, with the playoffs, load management is over, right? The routine load management. And look, if you're a Warriors fan and you may have been upset that you didn't get to see Steph Curry play when you had tickets. Right. Are you happy now that they've managed it properly for the playoffs?
Wiggins is going to be a factor. A healthy Wiggins is as good as anybody out there, honestly, in the playoffs.
I don't know if you saw this. I love how obviously fans, they read so much into Twitter. I saw a report that their GM, Howie Roseman, in an interview said going 4-12 or whatever that year actually helped them because it gave them a higher draft pick in every round, and it helped them retool and come back more quickly than perhaps winning 8 games that year. And I said, well, that's an interesting thing in the NFL. I guess there's a potential advantage if someone wanted to tank, beyond just the very top of the draft. Everyone talks about Houston winning that game and losing the first pick to Chicago and Lovie Smith's farewell present on the way out the door, blah, blah, blah. Right. But even at other levels, and I just said, that's an interesting thought. And Eagles fans, so you're accusing the Eagles and Roseman of tanking? I'm like, no, I'm just saying that you could see, here's a GM talking about a few draft positions being important throughout the draft. You can see how tanking could be tempting, not saying that they did it, kind of thing. And so it's an interesting setup. But I want to say one thing about load management. I think you have to be fair about both sides of it. I think I've got this theory, Sal, that you don't have to be the faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than the guy next to you, right? And when it comes to load management, the NBA is the slowest runner in the room. When it came to steroids, it was baseball. When it came to when it came to concussions, it was the NFL, the slowest runner, so to speak. But all sports load manage. The NFL load manages. How do they load manage? First of all, if a guy's playing, he may be only third down or red zone targets, right? I mean, limited reps, limited things. Load management is in practice all the time for the players because they don't play all week. It's a lot of rest time. And there's a lot of platooning that happens in the NFL. And, in the NBA, it's 82 games. I liked it better when it was 16. The math was easier. Now it's 17 NFL games, but it's still about 5 NBA games to 1 NFL game. So it's like if you rust the second quarter, that was load management for an entire game, but you still got to see the player for the ticket, so it doesn't get noticed.
I think, you notice it if it was a star player and if it was a quarterback in particular. Aaron Rodgers, in a bid to secure a playoff spot, is never sitting game 17, as Luka and the Mavs did. If Aaron Rodgers is up against Josh Allen for MVP, he's not sitting week 17 or 18 as Embiid did. Again, you're right, sure, during practice and everything else, but the ticket buyer, I don't think, suffers as much as they do with the NBA.
No question, but we have plenty of examples. I get quarterbacks, it doesn't happen but certainly there's been lots of times where the running back has been load managed. The wide receiver has been load managed in terms of fantasy and whatever, but because they still played, you don't get the fans got shortchanged angle, so to speak. And that's why I say the NBA. All I'm saying is I'm not supporting that the NBA is doing it correctly or incorrectly, but I'm just saying
everyone does it.
Everyone does it. They just do it differently. But in the load management argument, the NBA is the slowest runner in the room, and so it gets the most targeted. Look at baseball. We're in baseball season. Load management. Are there any pitchers that go to 200 innings anymore? Last year, Clayton Kershaw had a perfect game and he got pulled. I mean, all the time, lefty, righty, sits, rotation, like 6-man rotations are not unusual. Look, when I grew up, it was a 4-man rotation, and the closer
baseball
catches
crap for that. Yeah, people hate that too, though. People hate that too with baseball. It's absurd. It's
I hate it too, but I just think somehow NBA has become the poster child of load management.
No, you're right. And listen, this is similar to my critique when people go nuts about bad officiating in the NFL, and I'm like, you know what? This is going to be unpopular, but I think officiating is hard. You have these athletes who are stronger, faster, jump high. We could see a replay 3 times and not see that the nose of the ball touched the ground, but these guys running around in the split moment should be able to decide. A, and B, officials are bad in every sport. They get things wrong all the time. We're going to see in NBA playoffs, we're going to see many games decided in the last few seconds. I think officiating is here's the deal. Either officiating is hard and we don't want to admit it, or this is the biggest practical joke on all sports fans across the board, that they're just bad and they blow every game. So I think you have to pick a side there. And I think it's similar to your thing about, well, let's not poke fun at one sport when it's going on everywhere.
No question. All right, so Masters golf. Do you really think the screw was poking through Tiger Woods' skin?
I don't know.
Buy that?
Is that what they said? I was,
that's what Jason Day said.
Yeah, I wish that tree would have fallen on me before I put in my Saturday and Sunday bets for the Masters, because I don't think I won one of them. But Tiger, of course, I look at everything through the lens of gambling, and I like to short Tiger Woods, not like 800,000 to win 20,000 against him, but you really couldn't make money going against him because he made the cut, but then went over in the 3rd round. Did you see the screw poking through? I didn't see it.
Well, I don't know. For quite a while now, people have called us Tiger haters. No, Tiger realists. This guy's not winning another major. We said that a year and a half ago. The game's too hard. Augusta's too hilly. Yes, he did really well the first 2 rounds last year, but then 7 over the next 2 days last year. It's very difficult. These guys are too good. Like, he's still a great golfer. Oh my gosh, right? But
it's when he's talking about walking the course becomes the issue. Like, it's like, that can't be that.
But even in a golf cart to get the drive and turn, and let's not forget he's got the spine fusion. So over a year and a half ago, we said Jack Nicklaus's major record is safe, and we stand by that. But maybe we should write the article and do the video. There is no way there was a screw poking through Tiger Woods' ankle. First of all, when a screw backs out, it's the round, smooth end that backs out. Could it have been rubbing on his shoe and sock? Sure. But if it doesn't all of a sudden poke through. There's nothing sharp there. And if it did, that's a medical pseudo emergency because of infection. Take out the screw and close the wound. Look, was something rubbing? Sure. Does he have arthritis? Sure. Was he limping up a storm? Well, we all saw that. But this hyperbole of a screw was poking through. I don't know. It's just and Tiger didn't say it. It was Jason Day.
Yeah.
So
I'm shocked that there's a headline about Tiger and a screw, and it doesn't involve a Hooters in Fort Lauderdale. I'm out. That's it. I'm not going to do worse or better than
that. There you go. Well, that's a pretty good, you know what? I promise you, 15, 20 minutes already over that. We'll do the drum roll sound effect that I'm doing. And what else do you want to chat about before we say goodbye here? Because I want to respect your time.
That's it. extrapoints.com. We have a lot of contests up there, a lot of sports gambling content. And I'll be back with Simmons in the fall. And good times. It's always great talking to you. And now you could watch the children eat chicken fingers.
Well, hopefully when I go back down, they'll be on the slides and I just can't find them. And I'll have a little piece of quiet. That might be another side strategy no, the kids are great. I have fun with them. Thanks for coming on and fitting us into your schedule. This is the 18th podcast of the week for you, I'm sure. And I appreciate you. Extra Points, listen to your stuff. I love your stuff. And we should chat again and pick your brain on because you have some unique angles rather than just the simple stuff.
Yes, I didn't demonstrate that in the last 30 minutes, but I do have some unique angles somewhere in here. Screws hanging out and everything. Thanks so much, Doc. I appreciate it.
What are the odds that my wife will hear this podcast and I will get in trouble?
I think you're okay. I'll put it at 35-1 right now. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Cousin Sal. We'll take a quick break and then we'll be back for the rest of the Pro Football Doc Sports Injury Central podcast. All right. Let's continue with part 2. Thanks to Cousin Sal. Now we've got Jacob and Taylor in here. Cousin Sal's fun, right? He's cool.
We're boring. Yeah.
He didn't bite at my abacus thing though.
He knew he was wading in a minefield there, so he handled that expertly.
He really did. He went the eggshells very well there.
Hey, yeah, people do assume I'm good at math. He could have gone the doctor angle. Well, you had to be good at math to be a doctor.
Right.
I've spoken to you before. I'm just having fun. It's okay.
That was a safe move.
It was a safe move, yeah.
Yes.
I had a couple notes. You mentioned the futures in that. We went 11-6 on futures last season. 5 of the 6 misses were overs. So I know Taylor loves his
see?
That was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, Cousin Sal's on the unders too. I've been telling you can't just
We got to compare notes with Cousin Sal before next football season. So we'll write that one down. And then you mentioned the game with Goff and Wolford. Wolford did get hurt in that game. Goff came in, was 9 of 19, and Goff played the next playoff game when they lost to the Packers. So
yeah, there's no question. But my point is, and they talked about it afterwards, he didn't play because he didn't practice all week.
Right.
He was able to, but he was 100% healthy. If Tom Brady, and I'm not saying Goff is Tom Brady, if Matthew Stafford doesn't practice all week, he starts. If Tom Brady doesn't practice, he starts. Aaron Rodgers starts. Jalen Hurts, he starts. Any number of these people, they start. The fact that if you don't practice all week and you don't start and you yield the way to John Wolford, that's what I'm saying. That either means they think of John Wolford up here and Goff nearby, or they think of Goff here and John Wolford nearby. That's the only point. It just meant that, and it was proven because he came in and played. The Rams had no doubt that Goff was healthy. Otherwise, they would had to have activated Blake Bortles.
The practice stuff is BS for Goff, I think, too. I think Goff doesn't need practice back in that time, too. I think it was already predetermined that they didn't like Wolford, right? I think he could have played.
No, I think what that was is they had, for whatever reason, soured on Goff.
Right.
And they thought, if we get a good week of practice with Wolford, we can go that way and win. And let's see where we are. I think it just indicates the team soured on Goff. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happens. And just like we said, the team soured on Jimmy G because of hiding behind health with his high ankle and different things. And that was proven by trading 3 first-rounders to go get whoever who turned out to be Trey Lance.
Right.
You know, I mean, they soured on him for whatever reason, good, bad,
Right.
or indifferent.
Well, sticking in the NFL then, Odell Beckham, friend of the podcast, joining the Ravens on a 1 year, 18 million, 15 million.
I think we missed our
guaranteed.
window, guys.
Yeah.
He said he'd come on the
before.
podcast, but now he's with the team. Now he needs team permission, and now he probably can't
Too
do it.
late.
Well, you have best friend pen pal privileges, right? That's got to count for a little.
I don't know. It's fine.
We can quote unnamed sources about the Ravens. So
Yes.
All right. I should text him and say, congrats. You still open for coming on the podcast? It'll be a no because he's.
Him and Lamar had a bottle opening celebration last night. I would text and wonder where your invite was because I think we should have been immediately from the start.
But we think Odell's going to have a good year.
We do.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay, who's going to throw in the ball? What kind of scheme? That we don't know. But I mean, health-wise, we think he's going to have a good year because by the time he plays, it's 18 months since the second ACL. Age, this, that. But
yeah,
that's one we'll have to keep an eye on. Hopefully, the numbers come in super low on his futures.
Do you think Lamar Jackson is throwing to him? Because they said he was actively involved in getting with him. Does that signify a good stance for him going forward with the Ravens, or is that just him just trying to get people to go to the Ravens? Because that would make sense for me that it's a good step forward, right? Because he's actively involved in trying to get players on the team.
Well, I think the contract's the contract, but I do think the strongest argument is how does he, if OBJ is his friend and Odell Beckham signed there, it's a tougher sell. It's not gonna. I don't think Odell's gonna begrudge Lamar in terms of what he wants for the contract. You're his friend. You want him to get the contract, but if there is no contract, there is no offer, and he's playing on this $32 million tag, there's been rumor and talk about he could just sit out. Now that's a hard one. Don't take your 32 and sit out. Right. And your friend is now on the team saying, come on, I signed, let's go do something.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
To just sit out. I think it doesn't solve the dispute.
No, I don't. Yeah.
But the likelihood of sitting out, I think, has to go down, you would think, right? I mean.
And what if you get randomly traded to maybe the Titans or the Colts or something? Is that out of his control? Would Beckham be mad at him if that happened? Or would he think okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
No, Beckham wouldn't be mad at him. I mean, he's been around. I mean,
yeah.
And here's the other thing. I think he's a good player, obviously. I think he'll do well. He got a pretty healthy contract for 1 year.
He did, yeah.
And does he want to win? I believe OBJ wants to win, but he does have a Super Bowl ring. So
I texted Taylor about this. I had a list of going off average salary guys currently signed, but Odell's going to make more than these guys if he gets the full money. Christian Kirk, Tyler Lockett, Mike Evans, Hunter Renfrow, Allen Robinson, Cortland Sutton. Sorry, those guys are just above him in salary. So they get 18 or more.
Oh, those are just above him.
Those are just above him, yeah. I had the separate list. I texted Taylor.
Yeah, I got it here. So he has Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel, Michael Gallup, and Al Lazard of people based on salary that he's right above.
That are just under.
Just under.
OBJ, yeah.
I would
maybe I don't know salary cap well enough because
yeah.
If you give me those lists of players and you'd say, where do you slot in Odell's performance next year? It might be just below the first list and just above the second list. So maybe he's getting what he deserves. I don't know. I mean,
it's kind of funny because that was the big talk. Is he said he expected 15 to 20, and everyone's like, oh, what the hell? That's so much money for him for a guy coming off 2 ACLs. But if performance-wise, if everything goes right,
health-wise, I'm not worried. If that's where he slots, pay the man. I mean, all right, you heard me, Odell. Pay the man. So now you can come on. I'm just kidding.
That was the real friend of the pod.
Yeah. All right, what else we got?
Well, let's find a bit of NFL news, and then we can move on to other stuff. Kyler Murray is squatting, so that means he's 100% week 1, right, Doc?
That's perfect. He's ready to go, Doc. That's what you're saying?
Look, I'm not hating on Kyler Murray. He's just so dynamic. Okay, I'm not saying, Phillip Rivers doesn't move. Yeah, he came back real quick, did real well, but it's not the same kind of guy. coming off his ACL. Kyler Murray squatting. All I'm saying is this: it shows he's working hard. It shows he's doing well. But that's what you would expect an NFL athlete to do 13 weeks. Squats, lunges, leg press. And yeah, he had a good amount of weight on. Okay. So on a static type exercise, he's doing well so far. Good for him. It doesn't change a thing about what we've said for week 1 / the season, etc. I suppose it shows some reasonable progress on his meniscus. I mean, I don't think we're changing. Look, I hope everyone takes the cheese off of that and he has sky high futures props.
So I want to ask a question, but I'm getting this red light saying it's a dumb question. That usually means I shouldn't ask it, but I'm going to ask you. So if he was ahead of his curve of where he's supposed to be at, what would he be doing right now in the recovery process?
Well, if he were ahead and doing dynamic things, his medical staff would be getting criticized for allowing him to do too much. Okay. So we've talked about it before. After the surgery was a success. After the draft was a success. And when you're in training camp, we really like our draft class and our chances this year. That's all you're saying. He's doing fine. You're not going to get a report that he's not doing well, kind of thing. Okay, if you get a report that he's not doing well, where is that coming from? Is his agent going to put that out? Never. No. Is he going to put that out? Never. No. Is the team going to put that out?
Not going to leak that. Yeah.
Is the private trainer he's working with going to put that out? No, it's always my guy's the best rehab in this. Mm-hmm. Where's the negative information going to come from? A friend of his? They're not going to say. I mean, you're not going to get any negative information. Is my point.
Right.
Everything's going to be rosy and positive. If you look at all the examples of guys coming back from ACL, it's all been rosy, positive, and then what? Going all the way back to, let's say, quarterbacks like Carson Wentz. Oh, he's doing great. He's going to be ready. He's going to be ready. No, he's not going to be ready. He came back after a couple games of the season and had a compensation injury on his back. He wasn't really ready. No matter what you say, there's a lot of people who work hard, but it's still biology. It's hard to speed up biology.
Right. And you're not saying he can't be a pocket passer, drop back, sit there and make a throw. It's just he can't get outside the pocket and be dynamic Kyler Murray. So
right. And
that's too much to expect.
Does Kyler want to put himself in that position? Does the team want to put Kyler in that position?
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a lot. Big part of it is a mental game too. Switch gears to NBA. Paul George now confirmed to miss the first round. That fits our analysis from late March. Looking at his video, I think a lot of people could do a side-by-side with him and Giannis. Why was he not Giannis and able to come back right away?
Look, we were wrong on Giannis. I thought Giannis would miss the same amount of time that Paul George is missing, yet he came back. What we missed is that this wasn't the first time for Giannis.
Right.
It's like that ankle. It's like when Steph Curry turns his ankle sideways, he comes back more quickly than the first time, because the first time guy tore ligaments. Steph's ligaments are already stretched, and he's been playing with it in compensation. Giannis's PCL and posterior capsule had been stretched, so there was no new damage. That's why he was able to come back. And when we issued that we don't think he's coming back, and we were wrong, we didn't know that. I didn't know that. And that's where it pays to know the injury history. And that's our bad. But Paul George, with it being a fresh injury, like I said, the Clippers got to go a little bit into the playoffs. We won't say we said we knew his season / regular season was done. Playoffs, it depends on how deep the Clippers can go. The deeper the Clippers go, the more of a chance he has. If they get to the finals, I think he comes back. But that's a few series away.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was March 26th, and finals would be sometime early June, I believe, is when that happens. Late May, early June. So baseball, we got an article up on Musgrove and a couple other pitchers, and when they're projected to come back, Verlander, Tristan McKenzie, kind of dealing with the same thing. So you can check that on the website.
Yeah, and my wife said this. What's up with the Padres? Why didn't I thought they're all in. Why aren't they getting more pitching? I'm like, because of the early season, just as
Injury
expected, early
happens
season
today.
pitching. And my response to they're getting Musgrove and Otani, not Otani, Musgrove and Yu
Darvish up
Darvish,
to speed, yeah.
right? I mean, are you going to find better than that? And who are you going to get that, you just got to weather the storm. You're going to get Musgrove and you're going to get Yu Darvish back very quickly here. I think, like, when I saw Musgrove down at
I must say,
spring training,
Darvish is pitching today, by the way. So quickly.
Oh, okay, he's back.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But Musgrove looked healthy. You just got to get into it, right? And
have you
the
seen
one
his
guy
we wrote about, he had a little shoulder issue. He in his last rehab start that might push his return date down a couple.
They said they're going to push him back a day or two. It's just it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Look, I saw him throw 6 straight inside low fastballs in a row in a spring training AAA type game. Clearly, he was working on stuff.
On that pitch,
and yes, one of the guys, the previous batters, hit a home run on him. But by the 5th time he threw that same pitch, I think that guy knew what was coming, right? Because he knows he's just working on some things. And he clobbered it. I forget the guy.
If you throw Davis the same pitch 5 times, he's going to hit a home run.
Yeah,
well, I have confidence in him.
Yeah, I mean, you just, well, I don't know about Davis, but thank you for that. But I don't know about that. Yeah, but I mean, if you talk about acclimation, look at Zion. Okay, we never really took the cheese that he's going to return, but Shams is now saying his hamstring is healthy, but his body isn't ready for the NBA. Acclimation. You can't just, what these guys do isn't that easy. You can't just say, oh, Musgrove's healthy, now he's pitching. No. You got to ramp him up. That's why when I saw him the last basically day of spring training, he was starting his spring training. He needs a few weeks.
Right.
That's all. And Zion, obviously now he's out and et cetera.
Yeah, we'll be tracking Wiggins' return to play too. He missed 20-something games and then just got back with the team on last Tuesday. So he'll need a little ramp up before rejoining that Kings series, but they don't get underway till Saturday or something. So
that's what that. It just says conditioning. That's why he's missing. He's not missing because of the issue anymore. Yeah.
One I'm worried about in baseball, he's on my 6-score fantasy team. Adam Duvall, center fielder for the Red Sox, kind of made that little diving play. One we forgot to tell you earlier, Doc, is he had surgery on that left wrist last season, ended his season last season.
It was just today.
They said torn sheath last year was a surgery. I remember you kind of raising an eyebrow.
Just did it again.
Yeah.
Torn sheath. Sheath of what? I mean, look, he's got to survive a scaphoid fracture here. Hopefully it's a wrist sprain, and hopefully it's just 10-day IL. Hopefully, but to be determined. I mean, you couldn't tell when his glove got bent back how much was the glove and how much was the wrist, right? Where was the wrist underneath? But yeah, power hand in terms of right hand batter, left hand.
Superpower.
You're searching the waiver wire there.
Not what I want to hear, but you can the latest on that in Insights, and we'll have an article up on Duvall too. One you're on top of switching to women's soccer is Mallory Swanson playing an international warm-up game. Mallory Pugh, now Mallory Swanson.
She's married to a baseball player, Dansby Swanson from the Cubs, starting shortstop. Yeah.
See, there's the link. I knew Taylor would have the smooth transition for me. She was announced as torn patella tendon. You saw by video, Doc, when she kind of stopped short of the tackle.
Yeah, it wasn't the collision. She was trying to avoid the collision. Yes. Eccentric load, popped her patella tendon, grotesque looking. We don't want to be right on those, but clearly she's done for the World Cup. She's done for next 9-12 months, et cetera. Is it me? But I mean, maybe I'm just hearing. So Mallory Swanson, married to an MLB player. You have Zach Ertz, married to
Julia Ertz. Yep, soccer player.
Yeah, soccer player.
I know the names.
Yeah, I mean, right? And what's his name? 99.
Oh, J.J. Watt. Yes, he's
J.J.
married.
Watt married to a
Yes.
soccer player.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a lot of soccer players marrying athletes, or athletes marrying soccer players. I don't know, whichever way you want to call it. A lot of
crossover.
A lot of crossover there. Yeah.
So the
All right,
World
what
Cup-
else we got here?
World Cup's in Australia, Doc. So we have to make sure to tell Doug. But the big thing, it's from July 20th to August 20th. She has no possible way of coming back even at the end if they make the World Cup
Zero.
final, because they do that. USA Women's. Okay.
Zero. No possible way.
Tough break.
All right, let me take that back. She definitely can be back for the World Cup. The
On the
next
bench.
one.
Yeah.
Not
the
this
next
one.
one. I'll say she can't be
Not
back
this
on the bench or something.
The next one, not this one.
Yeah. I got you.
Actually, Beast of the Week I have is Zach Ertz related, so that's a good segue there.
I like that one. John Rahm called him out, huh?
Yep.
Now, the question so the story that will make Zach, it would be John Rahm should be the Beast of the Week, winning the Masters, then calling out Zach Ertz, name dropping Zach Ertz. I guess the story was before he teed off, 10 minutes before he teed off, Zach Ertz texted him that first green's looking pretty, what was his word? Pretty easy, or whatever he was saying. And I guess Rahm started the tournament by 4-putting.
Yep.
And so he told Zach Ertz, don't ever text me that again. Now, what my follow-up question would be, did you 4-putt because you were attacking the green like it was easy and it ended up being hard, or did it influence you, or how did it work? But all good. We'll make Zach Ertz / John Rahm the Beast of the Week here. All right. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll sign off here. And Sick Insights, we get your quickest stuff out there. And a lot of stuff going on this week. Basketball, baseball, other sports, the golf, and NFL news too. So thanks for watching. Please give us a subscribe on YouTube, or a rating, 5-star rating on the podcast, Apple Podcasts, etc. And thanks for listening and watching.